Thanks everybody for joining tonight. I'm gonna keep my video off and probably better that you do because I'm out in the country and my internet's not that great. So hopefully it doesn't get glitchy or anything. Um, if you don't know about the tool library, it's really awesome nonprofit, mostly volunteered and volunteer powered. And one of the things we're trying to bring along with sharing tools widely and at very low cost is also education. So we've been ramping up teaching classes over the last couple of years. We're hoping to have at least 12 classes this year, kind of varying our options between some online things, some on-site classes. One of the next ones is going to be in tandem with the recyclery about bike maintenance, but we've done stuff like welding class a few times, sewing repair and maintenance. We've done that in person and online. Sheetrock repairs, batteries, different tool sharpening and stuff like that. So best way to stay up to date on what classes are coming out and when is to subscribe to the newsletter. Usually things hit there first, and then a week or so later, we usually get them on social media. So being volunteer powered, and a lot of donation and sliding scale, super helpful if you'll consider donating for this class offering here tonight. No pressure, but it does really help us to be able to offer more. So in the outline at the bottom, there is a QR code for our Venmo and PayPal. I did not actually test those, so if somebody tests it out and it doesn't work, please let me know and we'll figure something out there. Um, I think I'm just gonna jump right into it though. So I made a little video to think explain a little bit faster. Where is it? What I have used SketchUp for. So I'm just gonna play that for you. If you've been to the Asheville Tool Library, this might look familiar. I used SketchUp to help us map out our initial design plan when we moved in October of 2022. I started using SketchUp about 15 years ago as a general contractor to help clients envision what we were talking about building. Here's a garden shed with a super cute circle window I built a few years ago. SketchUp is just awesome for bringing your ideas to life. After doing a 3D drawing, I usually export the model to the companion program called Layout to create construction drawings that can be used on site. You can also create scenes, which are particular views that show and hide whatever you want, and then link them all together to export an animation like these. This is a prefab shed we converted to be a guest apartment above a storage space a few years ago. I didn't draw the car, but was able to import a standard SUV from the SketchUp 3D warehouse to help give a sense of scale. Here's a house out in Marshall built in a week-long intensive tiny house building class. I color-coded everything and used that on the cut sheet to make it easy for everyone to keep busy and know where things went. And then I got into car racing and decided to use SketchUp to play around with some custom fabrication. I wanted some stronger parts for my rear suspension, so I mapped out the existing geometry, used that to inform and design the new components, flattened the pieces with a plug-in program called Flattery, and sent those to a plasma cutter after nesting as many as I could into a single sheet of 11 gauge steel. I also had to design a wheel bearing holder that I had a local machine shop make for me. This is my first time doing something so oddly shaped, so I was very happy that it all came together as expected, and even better, has withstood tons of abuse. Here it is, going off that jump. Another very weird ongoing project I've got is swapping a 5-cylinder Mercedes turbo diesel engine into my Nissan hardbody, but keeping the original transmission and drivetrain. So here is the flywheel adapter to get from the new engine to the existing transmission's flywheel. Basically, if you can imagine it, you can probably draw it in SketchUp and bring it to reality. As challenging as it can feel to work things out on the computer, it's so much easier and cheaper than doing it for real. You can use it to walk through all the steps and see what issues you might encounter. So I'm going to start working off the outline here. So there you can do SketchUp free, which is probably what most y'all have opened up. The desktop version comes in a few, they've got three flavors of it from 150 to 350, I think, up to 750 bucks. Um, I think the free is great for just starting to play around with it, but you've got a lot more capabilities with the um, more expensive versions. They do offer that highest tier, which is called SketchUp Studio and usually costs about $750. They offer that to qualified teachers and students for 55 bucks. That's the level that I'm using. There's a lot of plugins and additional programs that come with that I'm not even using, but depending on what you're doing, you may want to. So what you'll see me screen sharing will be that desktop version on PC. Oh, and one important note is that they don't actually have the full SketchUp Studio for Macs, only for PC. I think that only excludes being able to use a couple of the additional programs. So I think it would still be worth, especially at the $55 deal, even if you've got a Mac. So yeah, things might look a little bit different with what I'm doing today. But for the most part, I think everything should cross over because we're going to use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So I have some top tips. SketchUp has put together several training videos. That's what I use to do a lot of my deeper learning. There's a link there in the outline, learn.sketchup.com. Um, the videos are really nicely broken down into little like 3-minute chunks, so it was really easy to kind of do a little bit at a time and then pause. And they've got um, files that you can download and work along with things really well. So there's also a lot of great people on YouTube. I haven't gotten super into anybody there. Was able to really get what I needed through the SketchUp campus. So that's my recommendation. A trackball mouse is my favorite. Here, there's a link to it, but I'll also show you. This is the exact one I'm using. I've actually had two of them. First one lasted, I think, a couple years. It's made a huge difference for me. Cut my time about in half and compared to using a trackpad, but also got rid of a lot of, well, pretty much all pain in like my wrist and hands because I was spending many hours doing this. And a lot of times you're trying to have like really precise control as you're zooming in and out. And it can be really fumbly with the trackpad unless you're kind of really rigid with your fingers. Maybe there's some things about trackpads that I don't know, but that was my experience. So um, don't expect to be moving nearly as quickly as I am able to, especially tonight. And if you feel like you're really gonna get into SketchUp, I think that the trackball mouse is just super helpful. I really hate when I end up being somewhere needing to do some SketchUp and I've forgotten the trackball mouse. I'll almost just won't even do it. I'll show you this a little bit more as we get into it, but sometimes you're going to want to move like from side to side. And so there is a special tool that allows you to move side to side, but every time you change tools, that takes away some time. What I usually end up doing is zooming out with the mouse kind of pointed at one spot and then zooming back in on the other spot that I want to use. So That's been something that I found that saved me a lot of time. Don't get lost in the outer space of SketchUp. It just exists in like infinite space. And I did have one time where I zoomed out too far and I was not able to get back to what I was drawing. Luckily, it wasn't too developed yet, but what I always do early on is create a scene, and that scene is focused on wherever I'm starting to draw. And you can always double click on that scene and it'll just bring you right back to that location and view. So I'll show you how to do that. Um, if you're using SketchUp Free, which is all online, it's just going to be auto saving. But if you're using a desktop version, I just like to save very regularly. It does do an auto saving function for you, but sometimes, it doesn't do it like every 10 seconds or anything. So if your computer crashes or something, you might lose a few steps, and sometimes things can get pretty complicated in there, and it can be pretty annoying to lose that. I'll show you this a little bit more when we're in there, but you can actually like type in measurements as well as type in if you want to have like five of something pop up, you can make a copy and then just click times five, or if you want to have five things in between two things, you can do divide by five. So I'll show you that. Um, Probably the biggest thing that messed me up early on was not making things into separate groups and components. Um, SketchUp has what's called sticky geometry. So if you just start piling everything on top of each other, and then you go to move something, it's like the two objects are stuck together and they'll pull apart and you start making really weird shapes that are not what you wanted. So I'll show you that a little bit more as well. Um, I use the keyboard shortcuts a lot. So I've got them listed out here and I'll be talking through them as we work on some drawing. So maybe some of y'all know, today is Pi Day because it's March 14th, 3.14. And so we're going to draw some pies. I figured that would be fun. So here's what we're going to be shooting for, something like this towards the end. There's a lot of basic steps to get to this point. So um, I'm going to start a new SketchUp project. Everybody ready? All right. So um, they usually will put a model here near the center point of all the X, Y, and Z axes for you. I usually leave that until I've got something else drawn and then delete that, but it can be cool for a sense of scale if you want to have that. So the first tool that we're going to use will be the rectangle tool. You can also use it to draw squares. And so the keyboard shortcut is R, R for rectangle. So I'm just going to go start right at what's called the origin, where all three of those axes come together, and click on that. I'm going to click and release and then start pulling away, and you'll see I can move my mouse around. And if you look in the bottom right corner, you'll see the dimensions. So there's one number and then a comma and then another number. So you can try, pulling this out to exactly what you want, or once you've gotten it pulled out, like if I want a long rectangle, I'll usually kind of make it look like a long rectangle. So I can see that that first number is 46 feet and the second one is 9 feet. So that 46 feet is kind of like my left to right dimension. Um, so I've clicked and released and pulled over in this direction, and then you can just start typing. So I'm just going to type like 40 feet, comma, 10 feet. And that's going to make a rectangle that is exactly 40 feet by 10 feet. If you don't click anything else and that rectangle was oriented kind of the opposite of how you wanted, you can just start typing again and go 10 feet, 40 feet, and it'll go the other way. Oops, accidentally undid it. So if everybody can make a 40-foot by 10-foot rectangle, that would be great. Yes, Robin. Yes. Click and release is I think way better. If you click and start dragging out and you accidentally release, um, it's gonna it's gonna lock to what you were doing. But actually, that can work out. Let me undo. So if I were to click, drag, and I didn't mean to go there, you should be able to still type in your dimensions and get where you wanted to end up with that 40-foot by 10-foot rectangle. All right, so that's the rectangle tool. Um, and R is the keyboard shortcut for that. So the next thing we're gonna do, um, it's not letting you type in the measurements. Are you you're on the free version and are you able to see that bar down there? Hmm, maybe they have changed that. I'll try, see if my internet will allow me to. Oh, yeah, they've changed it. Well, shoot. It's not super critical to do exact dimensions for what we're doing today. Um, just draw a rectangle that's kind of roughly in that same orientation, or you can draw a square or a rectangle in the other orientation. It actually won't matter too much. And Michelle, the link went out with the email from Eventbrite last night. So as long as you've got some sort of rectangle, you should be totally fine. One thing you'll see me doing will be zooming in and out. So on my trackball mouse, I'm using the scroll wheel. If you're just using a trackpad, you'll use two fingers like you would to scroll up and down a page, and that'll let you zoom in and out. Okay. Somebody sent me the link for the SketchUp free. So if you haven't found it, Michelle, it is now in the group chat. So next tool will be the just regular pointer, and the keyboard shortcut for that is the space bar. So you should see the little icon change. I'm gonna double click on that rectangle. So you should see all the edges highlighted and then like dotting in the middle. And we're going to make this an individual component so it won't let other things stick to it. So once we've got that all highlighted, we can press G on the keyboard and you'll see that pops up. It should pop up this little window. So I'm going to call it table because I'm going to imagine we're putting our pies on a table. and hit create. So what you've got over to the side here might look a little different with the online version. Um, I think I think the last time I tried the online version, which was several years ago, they didn't have this thing called the outliner. They were only allowing tags. The outliner is definitely a super helpful part of um, the desktop version. Once you start getting more complicated with models, it's very nice to see things broken out kind of in outline fashion. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and delete that model. So I have two options. One is to just click it over here in the outliner. The other is to click and drag over that model. And click and drag is another interesting tool. If you click and drag from the left, it's only going to select everything that's within that rectangle that you made. So, like if I've partially got our rectangle table in there, it doesn't do anything. If you click and drag from the right, you'll see they're dotted lines instead of solid lines. It's going to select anything that's partially within that rectangle. So now it's selecting both things. So I just want to get rid of heady. So I will highlight them and then I'm just going to use the backspace key. Or maybe it's delete. Yep, delete. And now I'm going to save just to make sure. But you probably don't need to do that because you're online. We had one more person just join, so I'm gonna re-drop the outline that we're working on. There you go, Darren and Michelle. If you want to click that link, there's a Google Doc outline you can check out. All right, hopefully everybody's got some form of a rectangle going on or square, and they've been able to name it table or whatever else you want to call it. So the next, it's kind of a tool we'll use is called Orbit tool. Keyboard shortcut for that is O. And so when you do that, you'll see the cursor change to this little like vertical line with a red arrow around it. Something that's really awesome about the trackball mouse is I don't have to hit the O to get to this tool. I actually just click on the scroll wheel and so that automatically takes it to orbit mode. And then I just move the trackball and I'm able to this is what they call orbiting, just kind of move all around. Way easier on the trackball. This is probably one of the biggest advantages of the trackball, being able to quickly move around your model. This would take so much longer with the trackpad. So yeah, you can hit O, and with the trackpad, I believe you have to click and hold, and then you start moving around on the trackpad. So we should go ahead and create a scene just so we don't accidentally get lost in outer space and have a hard time getting back here. So I've got it over to the right in my default tray. Um, you may need to go like up along the top of your window to see. I think it's going to be in the tools. I'm sorry, I always use the tray for doing things. I pretty much never use these drop downs or the tool selection along the top edge. Yeah, maybe it has to come from from the tray. So over in the tray underneath scenes, I'm just going to click that plus button and it's created scene one. Oh, is anybody other than Joseph able to see my screen? It says I'm screen sharing. Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on, Joseph, but most other people are saying they can't see it. Let me try. I'll try opening the online version. It was going really slowly for me earlier today. Give it a few more seconds here. Okay, maybe it'll work. Okay. Oh, I got somebody with a dinosaur shirt and a ukulele. That's a cool model. Oops. Okay, so gonna try doing what we did just far. Hmm. That did allow me to type in the measurements. I know somebody else said that it wasn't allowing you to. All right. Hmm. Matthew's saying they also couldn't type in the measurements. Yeah, totally, totally just let me do that. So you, hmm, maybe if you're actually trying to go over to that open cell and click there, that might have been the problem. Um, huh. Yeah, it's weird. I'm also not getting that upgrade button, and it doesn't look like I don't think it's got me logged in or anything. But like I said, it won't be a big deal if you aren't doing these exact dimensions, at least for the exercise we're doing today. Okay, so orbiting, we made it a individual component. So once something's been made an individual component, if like we wanted to draw a rectangle that actually was attached to it, we can't just hit the R for rectangle and start drawing on it. Those aren't actually going to stick to each other. We'll actually have to click into it. So I usually will triple click. Oh yeah, I undid. That's why it's not a component. So once it's become a component and you triple click on it, you'll see kind of these dotted lines of a cube. form around something, and that lets you know you're actually drawing on that thing. Um, so anything you draw on that will be stuck to that object there. So I actually don't want that because we're trying to make some pies that are going to sit on top of the table. And if we want to move the pies around or something, then we don't want the table to also be stuck to them and moving with it. So yeah, okay. Katie was saying it's a little, I don't know, counterintuitive maybe to not try to click into that box where the dimensions are. All you do is you hit R, you're using the rectangle tool, and before you click again, so you hit R, you click and release, and then you start moving out wherever you want. And then you just type you just start typing the dimensions. You don't click on that box at all, but they'll pop up in that little dimension box. Katie was saying that worked for them. So maybe try that if you're having issue with it. So the next tool we're going to use will be the tape measure. It can be good to use as a tape measure to actually get a measurement between some particular things. I use it a lot, especially early on, for just making what are called guidelines. So to get to the tape measure tool, we'll press T and should pop up with a little tape measure. So I'm thinking I want my pies to be nicely lined up along the center of this table. So I'm gonna go till that little purple um, square diamond clicks right to the edge of the table, and then click and release. Then I'm gonna start moving away from that edge. And if I go over here to the short edge, SketchUp is gonna automatically click to midpoints. So because my table is 10 feet wide, the midpoint is at 5 feet. That's really nice when you just have like kind of a random width, which some of y'all might have on a table. Um, what you'll see happen is that that little square cursor should turn into a circle when you're at the midpoint. So if you can get a line running down the center of your table, a guideline. Oh, yes, Matthew, good point. So if you only type inches are the default unless you chose to use like a metric template. But if you type like 30 comma 30, it's going to give you 30 inches by 30 inches, which can be nice. But if you want 30 feet by 30 feet, then you have to write 30 and then the apostrophe comma 30 apostrophe. All right, so the next tool we'll use will be the circle tool. Oops. So to use the circle tool, we're going to click C, and you should see that cursor change to a little circle looking thing and a pencil next to it. So when you're drawing a circle in SketchUp, it's going to start at the center point of the circle, and then you're going to define the radius, which is the measurement from the center point to the edge of the circle. So I'm going to start out at that center line that I made, and you'll see I'm zooming in and out to just sometimes get a little closer and see things a little bit better. Let's just click some random location. Another thing, so I'm always pretty much always doing the click and release. So I've got the circle tool, click and release on the center line, and then you can start moving around. We'll talk more about this. You see how that line from the center is green right now? That lets me know that I'm lined up to the green axis. So not important in this scenario, but it'll become important a little more later. So I'm just going to do some random size. It actually doesn't matter. Um, you might notice this circle has some really rough edges to it. So something that SketchUp does to keep things running quickly, especially if you don't have like really good graphics processing on your computer, everything is actually made up of a bunch of line segments and little planes as you start getting into shapes. So the less lines it has, the less work there is to do as far as video and graphic processing. But I want this pie to look pretty good, and I don't know, that just doesn't look good to me. So I'm gonna hit spacebar to get to the pointer tool. I'm gonna click on the edge of that circle, and it will highlight that circle all the way around. And then I'm gonna click entity info. So then it's going to tell you information about whatever you're clicked on. So if I wanted to change the radius of this circle from 3 foot 1 9/16 of an inch to just 3 foot, it's pretty easy to adjust it here. And just do 3 foot, hit enter. So that resized it. The segments are the number of lines making up that outer edge. So right now it's got 24. Um, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna do multiply that by 4. So do 96 and you'll see it get a lot smoother. So it's still made up of a bunch of lines, but there's 4 times as many. So things got smooth enough that I think it's at least pleasing to the eye. All right, oh, so Joseph, to turn the rectangle into a component, you're gonna use this the hit the space bar to get to the pointer tool, and then you'll double click on the rectangle, and then you press G, and it should pop up a little window saying make component, and you can type in whatever name you want to use, and then hit enter. Everybody able to get that midpoint line to stick now? I see some folks are having issue with that. Awesome. Got it. Okay, so we've got a circle with some pretty smooth edges, and let's actually let's use the push pull tool next. So to get to the push pull tool, we'll hit P on the keyboard and should see this little like, I don't know, it's like a little square with some shape to it and then an up arrow. So as you hover over things, it'll highlight them. So now I can see that I'm going to be pushing or pulling that shape that is the circle. So I'm just going to click and release and then start moving up. And so we start to get some shape. I want this to look kind of pie-like, so I don't know. I'm going to go about there. That seems to be about the proper proportions. Give you a few seconds to make sure everybody's keeping up with that. So that doesn't really look like a pie though. We want that upper edge, at least not what I imagine as a pie. Could have a pie in that shape. I'm sure it would taste great still. But I want that upper circle to be a little bit wider. So we're going to hit space bar again, and we're just going to click on that upper edge. So you should see only that upper edge turn blue, and that lower edge should still remain black. Um, your entity info window might still be open, but if it's not, you can just click the entity info tool over to the right. And what we're going to do is adjust the radius. So right now the radius is 3 feet, which is like 36 inches. So I don't know, I'm going to try 40 inches. Mm, I think that looks pretty good. So whatever measurement you had there, you can just add a little bit to it so you get some kind of angled shape that you like. Hmm. Joseph, make sure you've got that you're seeing the upper circle highlighted in blue. If you're not clicked on anything, the entity info will just say no selection. So make sure you're clicked on that upper circle of our little flattened cylinder. Huh. Um, if Make sure it says circle in the entity info. Anybody else having issue with adjusting the upper circle radius? Oh, okay. So if it says face, what you've got highlighted is, if you can look at my screen share, what you've got highlighted is the center of the circle. So you have to move that pointer till you're actually clicked on the edge. It's just going to be a single click. If you double click that edge, well, now it's highlighting the whole thing for me. Or if you double click in the middle, you'll get those dots in the middle of the circle, but also around the edge. What you have to do is just click that edge. And this can be tricky sometimes in SketchUp, clicking, especially like the edges are so thin. So I'll usually, if I'm having a hard time, I'll usually just zoom in really close to make sure I'm only getting a highlight of that circle. Krista, were you saying kind of working or kind of not working? Okay, cool. Um, so let's see. What should we do next? Oh, we are gonna I think we'll do the offset tool because my favorite part of pie is the crust. I mean, it's got to have a good filling, but needs a good crust, especially sticking up over the edges there. So actually, before I get too much further, I think I might not have even made a scene. Yep, I didn't even make a scene yet. So I'm gonna make a scene so I don't accidentally get lost. And then I'm gonna make this pie component. So you see when I triple click it, it's highlighting only that. It's not highlighting the rectangle because that's a separate component. Once you're in a component, you'll have to, if you want to like I'm trying to click on the pie, but it's not letting me. It's kind of stuck in this component. So I have to click over to the side outside of this like dashed line uh, box, and then I can triple click on the pie. So triple click on your pie to where you're seeing everything highlighted and hit G, and we'll make that a component. I'm just going to call it pie. So we are going to use the offset tool to make a little bit of an edge on the top and give it some crust. So I'll show you what, to get to the offset tool, you're going to use this keyboard shortcut F. Yep. And so right now you'll see I've got the pointer and then it's got a little circle with a line through it. Even though I'm hovering over my pie, it's because the pie is a component. So as I'm hovering over it, I'm kind of locked out of it now. So I need to actually hit spacebar and then triple click it. Now I can hit F and I'm actually able to modify this actual thing, this actual component. So I've got the little red square and I'm going to want to offset from this upper edge. So I'm going to click and release and then start moving in towards the center. So it can just be a random amount. I'm just going to go that far. That looks good. Man, that's a big pie compared to my person. Um, so once you've got an offset circle, and you can use this offset tool for squares or triangles or really any shape. But we'll just use it here for the circle. So you've got that offset circle, and then we can hit P for push pull, and should be able to highlight this outer ring and start bringing it up to give a little bit of a crust shape. I had issue with this earlier today when I was practicing. It was only at first wanting to let me highlight the inner circle, and that actually was just happening for me now. I just clicked on the inner circle. If you start doing something you didn't mean to do, you can just hit escape and it'll just go back to how it was. Of course, you can always do the undo button as well, or Control Z. So, oh, yep, I clicked out of it. There we go. So P for push pull, and I'm just going to bring that up, make a little bit of crust. Um, Katie, the to make a new component, you'll triple click on the thing and then press G. And then to make the inner circle, you'll use what's called the offset tool. So make sure you're clicked into the component. Um, you'll triple click on it once you've made it, and you'll get those dashed lines of a kind of box around it. And then you can click F and then go, here, I'll go a few steps back. You'll click F and you'll go to the edge of that upper circle, click and release, and then you can just start moving inwards and it'll make a perfectly even to that outer circle, inner circle. And just like we've done elsewhere, you can go ahead and start typing. Like in the bottom right corner of mine, it's saying it's about 3¼ inches. If I wanted it to be 4, I can just type 4, hit enter, and it's going to make it offset exactly 4 inches from that outer circle. And then we'll hit P for push pull. So yeah, here at first it's not highlighting this outer circle for me like I want. So I'm just going to click this inner one, move it a little bit, hit escape, and for some reason now it's going to let me move that outer circle. Everybody got crust? So I think we should make our pie just look a little bit more flavorful. So we can use the paint bucket. So I just want to make the whole thing one color. So I'm gonna triple click where I've got everything highlighted, and then I'm gonna hit B for bucket of paint, and you should get the little sidebar popping up showing you some colors. Let's see. Yeah, so they've got pretty limited selection in the SketchUp free version. In the pro version, you have options of, well, here I've got it open still. Um, so I can do colors or I can do patterns. That didn't work well. Or I can do stone, or I think the glass is pretty cool because some of them are actually pretty translucent. You can also edit them to adjust the opacity. You can adjust all kinds of things. Somebody mentioned wanting to do landscaping, so this is great for that. Can do some gravel or some grass or some pavers. Can do metal, wood, all kinds of stuff. They've got all kinds of preset stuff. Also, if you want something super special, you can import like a picture of something and make it work as a pattern in SketchUp, but we are not going to get into that today. So let's just use a simple color. I'm going to go with this peachy one. All right, that looks a little better. Thanks for helping each other troubleshoot, y'all. Okay, so I think it's about time to eat some pie. What do you think? So I want to take a slice out of this pie. Um, so we will use the tape measure tool to make some guides. And one cool thing about the tape measure tool and circles is it will also find the center of that circle. So I want to take a nice slice out of this pie because it's so pretty. So as you're moving around, you'll see once you get kind of close to the center, it'll usually try to jump right to the center. And you can see the little bar pops up saying center in pie. So I'm just going to click and release and then start moving, and you can really go in any direction, but I'm going to go along the green axis, and that'll make sense why in just a second. So, and I'm not going to go all the way out to the edge for now. I'm just going to make that line there. Now, if I wanted to make that guideline go all the way across the pie, the way that I would do it would be clicking on this green axis over here with the tape measure. So click and release. When you click on an actual line, it's going to create a line parallel to that one, which can be super helpful, like we did earlier with finding the center of the table. Whereas when you click on a point, like I did before for that slice out of the pie, it only made that little bit of section that I was tracing out. So clicking on the green axis, and then I can just go to that line I made. And now I've got a nice line across the whole top of the pie. Thanks, Katie. Joseph, is that working for you? Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and I think cut this pie into 8 slices. So usually I would do one in one direction, and then still with the tape measure tool, we can click this long edge of our rectangle and go up here till it clicks to looks like that's the center, and I've got the little circle showing up, so I'm gonna guess that that's the center. There we go. Um, so I know that since this is a rectangle, those two lines that we've created on top of the pie should be 90 degrees to each other. If I want to divide that again, there's a couple ways to do that. Clicking 3 times makes the box. Hmm. So, Joseph, there's a chance that you kind of created one component and then maybe created another on top of it, so they're acting independently. Yeah, so maybe just try deleting that ribbon. So like triple click on it, hit delete, and then triple click on what's left, and you can do the offset thing and then push pull to give yourself some crust and see if that'll bring you back to where you're getting the whole thing highlighted. So we could just start at the center with our tape measure and just say, that looks about right. Um, and that's fine if you want to do that, but it's a great chance to show another tool. So I'm starting to say that those lines are 90 degrees to each other. We will use the protractor. Maybe you remember that from school. Um, there's not actually a keyboard shortcut for that, so I think we'll need to click on the 3 dots down at the bottom, yep, of the toolbar on the left, and you can click protractor. So if you hover over the top of the pie, you should it should click right in the center, and you'll see that that protractor is kind of laid down flat along the top of the pie. I was gonna wait to get into this alteration, but I think it's a good time to do it. So you can use the arrow keys to adjust that orientation of that protractor. So it's correct. It's going to do what I want it to do here, which is give me a line along the top edge of the pie. But if I wanted a line coming out up of the top of the pie, I could play around with the arrow keys. I think up, nope, left arrow. So now you can see that that makes that protractor kind of sticking up out of the top. So I could use that if I want a line like this. Or the right arrow is going to make a line in that direction. So sometimes it's just going to naturally only let you do things in one orientation, and you kind of have to use those arrow keys to pull out of that. But in this case, it should be automatically going just across the top of the pie like we're going to want. So click on the center, and then you're gonna so click and release on the center, and then go out one of the dashed lines. You're first telling it which line you want to reference your number of degrees from. So I'm going to click and release there, and then you can start moving and tell it where you want your second line made. So you look in the bottom right corner, it's telling you what angle you're at. So it's always good to verify things. As I had hoped, these lines are 90 degrees to each other. So if I want a perfectly even slice between those, I'm gonna do 45. Sometimes it'll automatically click right to the halfway angle, just like it does with midpoints along lines. But if it's not, you can still, as you're moving along, just go ahead and start typing 45, enter, and it'll make a line right there for you. So I'm going to do the same thing in the other direction, 45, enter. Hmm. Matthew, make sure you're triple clicked on the pie and you've got the dashed box around it. Sometimes it could be just with, especially with the internet-based version, just kind of reacting slowly and not getting you that center point. Okay, so hopefully everybody's got their dividing lines. If they're not perfect 45 degrees, that's okay. We just want to make sure they're going all the way out and beyond the edge of the pie. Um, so actually I wasn't double clicked or triple clicked into this, and with the guidelines, that's okay. Um, Now I'm going to triple click because I want to make sure I'm modifying the actual pie. So you'll see how the guidelines kind of fade out. So that's what happens if you're drawing guidelines without being in the component. So if I need them to be a little darker to be easy to see, I can just hit T for tape measure, click on that line anywhere, and then move over and click again, and it'll remake that line right over the top of that one for me. Cool. Um, so then we are going to use the line tool. So I'm going to use L for line. And time to take a slice of pie. So I'm going to click at the center and start moving out. One, this is another thing I love about the trackball mouse. Right now, I'm starting to draw this line, and if I wanted to connect to the inner edge of the crust here, I can't really see it. Sometimes SketchUp will automatically click to the correct point, but I just like to lay eyes on it. So I'm using the line tool right now, and um, if you don't have a trackball mouse, what you can do is press O and orbit to where you can see it. What I'm able to do with the trackball is press the scroll wheel, move the trackball, and as soon as I release those things, it goes right back to using the line tool. But if you press the O button and orbited to where you could see, then just hit L again, and it should resume where you were with that line tool. And sometimes you have to do that. Like you can't start at the point you want to start at and see where you want to finish that line. So that works. It should work with pretty much all the tools. So I'll bring this line out to the edge of the crust, click and release, and then I'm just going to go up. I've got these kind of dashed guidelines already. Click there. Oh, it didn't make it. So I've got to come back to this endpoint of that first line, click release, and you'll see that line coming out if it's actually drawing a line. If you're not seeing that, then you're not actually drawing a line. So click and release again, and then like see here, I'm just getting these dashed lines sometimes. That's kind of letting me know some reference points. So I'll click and release. Oop. You gotta be careful of that. Sometimes see how it jumped, my mouse jumped just a little bit right as I clicked, and that's a lot harder with a trackpad to avoid. Um, Click and release there, and then start going outwards. And I'm going to do a little bit of orbiting so I can see a little bit better that this dash line here is lining up with the slice line. And I want to click to that endpoint. And then we'll click and release again, go down that dash line. So you can see how that dash line now turned into a solid line. And then we'll go down the outer edge. And then we'll go from here. And like this is another case where got to orbit to the underside. Hopefully it will find the center. But it doesn't seem like it wants to, which is great. We can learn another skill here. So I'm going to come back to the top. I want to get a line poking out of the bottom of the pie that is centered. So I'll hit T for tape measure. And I'm just going to find a line that I know is vertical. So this blue axis line here, that's vertical. Click and release it, and then just start coming over to the center of the pie, and then click and release again. So that'll make a line that now I know if I draw a line to there, that's going to be right to the center of the pie, and then I can draw a line from there to the top side to keep working on my slice. Y'all are quiet. I hope that's good. All right, so line to the center, and just make sure before you orbit back up to the top that you have that line drawing function going on. So we can't see this one, but it should be there. Should be a line going right through the middle of the pie. So we can't take a slice out yet. We need to basically do that whole line sequence again. So I'm just going to go to one of the sets of dash lines next to the ones we just did and do that whole thing again. How's everybody doing? Oh, I messed up. I drew those lines not on the actual component. So I need to delete those all. Hopefully you didn't do that. All right. Sal, I think you got it. Sarah, thumbs up. That's great. Well, now we can hopefully take a slice out of this pie. Anybody got ideas as to how we might do that? So we will use the push-pull tool. Um, it would be hard to make that a component because it's gonna want to connect to everything else. If you triple click on it, we might be able to, um, with the pointer tool, select from the left. That might, let's try it. So I did selecting from the left and only made sure that the slice was in there. Let's see if we can make it a component. So that seems like it's all everything I want is highlighted. I hit G, call it slice. Whoa, that's not good. Undo. All right, good try. I like the idea. Um, I'm gonna use the push pull tool. So P for push pull. Oh, how did I do this earlier? I guess that's not. Oh, no, that's not what I did. Let's use the erase tool. So to use the eraser, I'll hit E and you can um, click and hold and then drag over things, but sometimes it's a little safer to just click on them to make sure you're actually deleting what you want to delete. So seeing that blue highlight, gonna hit that and then hit delete. Hmm. Well, that's not working for me. Eraser working for y'all? Seems like, oh, Sure hope it saves that. It crashed. Yeah, this is why I don't like the cloud-based. I don't have great internet usually. All right, well, I'm just gonna try. Bela, I will try that in a minute, but it actually did not work out well. Um, but I was using the pointer tool, so you press space bar and you click and drag to from the left to only be selecting things that are within the square that you make. So there, even though I've got some of the rest of the pie in that square, it doesn't have the entirety of those other parts in there, so it's only gonna select the slice. Let's try just moving it. Yeah, so this is what happens when you try to move something when it's stuck to the other stuff. It's really weird. And I'm trying to hit escape, but it's not happy about that. So just gonna do it and undo it, hopefully. Boy, this is getting really unhappy. I'm gonna try refreshing this and hope that it comes back. Might lose it. All right, it might have saved it. Got this box saying it recovered from my last session. All right, so I'm gonna triple click, make sure I'm actually in the component, and then press E for eraser and just start dragging over the parts that I want to go away. And there we have a slice of pie eaten. Not as satisfying as actually doing, but hmm. So I'm gonna let y'all screen share. Sal, will you try screen sharing? I'll make you able to do it. Okay, go ahead and try, Sal. Okay. Um, so this is awesome. I'm glad to see you've been playing around with materials and stuff. Um, so the dotted lines are just the guidelines. Will you zoom in a little closer? And so with zooming, wherever your cursor is, that's going to be kind of the focal point of where you zoom to. So I was mentioning that can be a helpful way to kind of get some side to side movement. Oh, brick pizza, my favorite. Um, it looks it looks like you might have things correct. Try triple clicking on the pie. Okay, so I think maybe your lines got drawn without being actually in the main component of the pie. Try clicking off to the side outside of the dashed lines, and then um, triple click on the pie. I think you may have just did that. Hmm. Yeah, so it doesn't look like everything is all one thing. If you triple click on any of that and it's all connected, it should all highlight. But it seems like, oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So you should be able, yeah, try clicking delete now. See if you can get that piece to go away. So that's going to erase probably everything since that was highlighted. Just do a single click on, oh, well, yeah, you got to triple click to get into the component. There you go. Yep. And now, yeah. So I think you had double clicked, so the lines along the edge also got deleted. So just do an undo and just single click. Yep. There you go. You can also just hit E for eraser. Yep. And just drag over it. Yep. So you can like drag right past it like a normal eraser too, and it'll just delete whatever you touch, but sometimes that accidentally does bad things. There you go. That's awesome. And you can use the paint bucket to like color those inside edges if you want. So I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. Everybody else, how you doing? Um, Matthew said your lines also drew on top of the crust. We can do your screen share too if you can do that. Hmm. So yeah, Sarah, just make sure you're triple clicked and you're actually in that component. And then if you single click on the filling, um, it should only be highlighting like that pie-shaped section. If it's not, then you probably drew your lines not in the component. So the lines are kind of separate from the main pie. Yeah, okay. So your lines are drawn without actually being like if you can see the screen share right now, how the dashed lines are making that cube all the way around the pie. That lets you know um you're actually you're actually drawing on the pie. If you don't draw those lines actually on it, even though they look like they're on top of it, they won't they won't work together. So you should probably just erase those lines and then um triple click into the pie and draw them again. There you go, Matthew. Um, you can unmute yourself if you want and talk through what you're doing too.
Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I triple click the pie.
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm back at trying to put the tape measure through the center point of the pie.
hmm So yeah, hit T for tape measure, and then go to that. You can go to the blue line, the blue axis line to the left. Yep, click it anywhere. Just click and release. Yep, there you go. And there you go. It's jumping right to the middle of the pie. So click and release again, and then you can use that to draw. Um, Actually, probably what I do, hit escape, and then you can click on the red axis line, click and release that, and then you can, yep, there you go. And so you'll want it to actually hit, there you go. Yep, where it makes that X, there you go. And then you
Oh
can do the
yeah.
same thing with the green line. Yeah, sometimes the functionality of it jumping to things is great, and sometimes it makes it really hard to actually get to what you want to get to. So sometimes you've got to zoom in really close to just make sure it actually is clicking to what you really want it to click to. So first you'll click one of those dash lines that you just recently made to let it know what you're referencing. Yep, click and release, and then there you go. Now you can just type 45 if you want, but it's also just trying to click right to it. So yeah, you got it.
Nice. Thank you.
Yep. Sarah, you wanna share your screen? Think. Okay, try now, Sarah. Should have the option to right in the bottom middle of Zoom. There's a little green box to that says share. Unless you are able to figure it out. They're just gonna troubleshoot with you. There you go. All right. I think your lines. So did you redraw those lines, Sarah? And I'm letting you unmute if you want.
Yeah, I redrew them.
Okay.
I don't think they're coming up again though. Yeah.
Okay. So just click on we want to keep the lines because if we delete the lines, then we just kind of lose that defining edge. But if you click in the middle
Mhm.
of that pie shape, just a single click. Oh yeah, it looks like the lines are still separate. You see how the whole top of the pie is highlighting?
Mhm.
If those lines were actually on top of the pie, it would highlight everything else than the pie area. So um yeah, I would delete those and then make sure you're triple clicked on the pie and then you can draw the lines. While you're doing that, I'm gonna make sure other folks are keeping busy. We're gonna try the move tool. So first thing we want to do is hit spacebar and triple click our pie, make sure everything is highlighted and we've got that dashed line cube around it. Then we'll press M for move. And in this case, it doesn't really matter where along the pie I click, but sometimes like if these were the wheels of a car and we knew we wanted them exactly 100 inches apart from the center of one to the center of the other, then I'd probably click right at the center, click and release, and start moving, and then type in 100. Um, I actually want to make a copy of this pie. So even though I've started moving the one, I can still make a copy of it. So all I do is hit Control, which maybe on Mac is Command. And so now you can see I've got two. So I'll just move over in this direction. I'm going to go pretty far to the edge of the table and then click and release. But then let's say, actually, I wanted like that whole table covered with pies because, of course. So I clicked and released after moving that one, and before pressing anything else with the mouse, I can just start typing. So I'm going to type divide, and you'll see that pop up in that little text box in the bottom right. I'm going to say divide 5, and what that'll do is evenly space 5 pies between those two. But that's a little bit too many, so I'm just going to type divide 4. That looks better. So that's one way of doing that kind of copy. The other thing I could do with the move tool, um, and actually we don't have to be clicked in when we're moving. We just have to have it highlighted. So now I've got these solid lines around it. So that still lets me know I've selected that whole thing. I'm going to move that whole thing. So M, start moving it. But oh yeah, I wanted to make a copy, so I'll hit Control. And I'm just going to move it along the red axis till it starts to clear that other pie. If you're having trouble getting it to move right along the red axis, you can use the arrows. So I think it's going to be the right one, and that's going to lock it to that red axis. Even when my mouse is way over to the side, it's saying I'm only moving along that red axis. Or I could use the left arrow and go along the green axis, or up arrow. It's only going to move up and down, but I want to keep it on my table. So I'm going to move it till it's clearing the other one just a little bit. And then I can do type in the asterisk symbol, which is over the 8. And then I'm going to say times 5. So that's a few too many. So let's do times 4. Something like that is super helpful. Like if you're drawing a house and you need a lot of studs along a wall, and you know you're using common framing spacing of every 16 inches, you can move one stud over 16 inches um, and then just say times 20 and go, oh, that's a little too long for the wall, times 18, and see what works. Sarah, did that work out for you?
No. Well, yes and no. I can't erase just the pie. I'll show you.
Thanks for joining, Trista. Glad you learned something. Okay. Yeah, so you've got just the pie. Okay. So what happens if you hit backspace or delete?
Here.
Yep.
So yeah, that.
Okay. So yeah, your lines are I think they're still drawn outside of the component. So you can leave the lines. Um, just triple click on that pie with hit spacebar to get the pointer. Um, hmm. Oh, it doesn't look like this is actually a component. So try clicking just in the middle of that slice, just a single click, or like in a little over to the left, not right at the point, but like if you were putting a fork in the middle of that slice. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now click delete. Okay, so I think that's working now. So the reason that it's hollow in there is because there's not a line. You can leave that. Go ahead and do redo. Um, but you need a line right through a vertical line right through the center. So if you can orbit, what you'll see is that you don't actually have that there. Yeah. So you just need to add that line. Yeah, and you can also try with the eraser just dragging over it. Oh, there you go. Yep. So, yep, and then you need perfect. Yeah, cool. Good job.
How do I delete the lines though?
What's that?
How do I delete the lines?
So you can just drag, you can press E to for the eraser and just drag right over them.
My commands have been working, by the way.
Command.
Yeah,
Um,
like the E and
oh, you
I
don't
don't
have to
know.
press command, you just press the letter.
I'm not getting it though when I just press the letter.
Oh,
I was at first and then something happened. I don't know where
I
it
have I
stopped.
have found that to happen with the online one. Sometimes that
Okay.
just stops working for me, so you
Okay.
can save and refresh. Yeah, Bayla said that they had to reload.
Okay.
Um, Bayla, are you still having issue with the copy move though? Okay. Um, when you, Bayla, I'm gonna mute you and stop your screen share, Sarah.
Sure. Go
Um,
ahead.
Bayla, if you well, you can just screen share. Just a second to stop that one. Okay, you want to try to screen share, Bayla?
Let me see. I don't know if it'll let me. Yeah, I don't have the permissions to screen share apparently.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Well, when you press M and you've got the move tool,
yep.
if you just look at the kind of at the bottom bar of the window, it'll tell you what keys to press to be able to do different things. So, like on mine, Control is a copy or move, and like the arrow keys will toggle the locking it to that particular direction. Does yours say to use command?
No, it says to use option. Okay, and it worked when I used option.
Awesome. Yep, an automatic
Thank you.
user. Yep, awesome. All right. So we've got all these dash lines now, which are kind of distracting. You may or may not have that many dash lines, but what I want to do is get rid of them. So, I don't know exactly how to do this in the online version. We're going to figure out. Usually there's an option for getting rid of them. Materials, display. I think that's. Uh, hmm. Well, hopefully I'm making a good case for getting a desktop version if you really want to get into it. The web is great for seeing if I don't know if you like it, but I'm just going to try using the erase tool, see if that'll work. All right, that kind of works. So since most of those guides were drawn in the component, I had to go into the component to actually be able to delete them. So we'll play with the rotate tool next. Yeah, we'll do the rotate tool. Um, so should be Q. We're gonna just triple click on one of them and then press Q, and we get something that looks pretty similar to the protractor. So this is again one of those cases where the arrow keys can be super helpful. This is probably the way that I want to rotate this pie. And what you'll see is it's moving them all. We got Pac-Man going on. But maybe I want to rotate this pie in a different direction. So I could hover there and then press the right arrow and then be able to rotate them upside down if I wanted. But I might just want to have like only one of these pies move and the rest of them stay how they are. So I'm going to get the pointer with spacebar. I'm going to right click and oh, it's in my way. Should be able to do a function called make unique. But online might not let us do that. Yep, might not be able to do that. Yeah, I don't know if we can. So at least in the desktop version, you can make a particular thing unique from the other ones, and that would allow us to rotate just this one, but not the others, or it would allow us to make this one a different color. So sometimes you wanna do that, and sometimes it's actually not what you want to do. Like if we wanted the inside of them all to be yellow, it's really cool. You just make one yellow, and now they're all yellow. Oh, so that'll let us know that they do a 7-day free trial of the desktop version. Hmm. And Bela is able to rotate just one. I don't know how you're doing that. One, I think there's just, oh yeah, two more tools I was going to show you. Got 1 minute. So, um, one tool is the scale tool. So we'll triple click and press S, and you get all these dots popping up. So when you go to um, when you go to one, it's going to show you kind of how it's going to scale by highlighting in red like the opposite whatever corner or side that you're going to be scaling to. So if I click on this top right corner, it's kind of shrinking height and width proportionally. But I might just want to do like side to side only. So that's just going to kind of smush it in one direction, but not at all on the other. Or if I want to go like side to side, but also have the top proportionally shrink, then I could do that. Or sometimes you want to like flip something, and this is one of the ways to do it. You do the side to side, and you start moving, and you'll see in the bottom right corner, we have that text box again. It's already automatically popping to -1, but if it weren't, I could just say, whoops. Oh, there it went. Good thing for undo. Could just type in -1 and it just flips it for me. And then other tool I was going to show you. Um, Shelby figured it out. So you can make it unique by, I see, you just click on one and you don't triple click, then you right click, then you can make it unique. Good job, Shelby. Thank you. Um, so yeah, I can do what I was trying to do with hitting Q and rotating just this one, or doing different colors on just the one. Whoop, the whole thing. All right, it's blueberry pie. Super blue. So the other tool was the hand tool. It's another tool for moving around. Press H, get a little hand, and it's just helpful for direct side to side moving. But again, usually what I'll do, like if I want to zoom in on the blue one, I'll go kind of far away from it and zoom out so I can get the blue one in the middle of my screen and then zoom in on it. I've got the scroll wheel, so that's just faster and easier for me usually. And I'm also kind of usually combining that with orbiting. And I think we got through it all. I'm gonna stop my screen share. If anybody wants to ask a question, happy to hang out a little bit more. Just do the hand raise, and I'll remind you to please consider donating to help keep our awesome organization thriving. Got the Venmo and PayPal links. We know the Venmo works, maybe the PayPal too. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Bela. So there is, hopefully you saw in my, oh, okay. I'll ask you to unmute, Joseph. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I've been trying to catch up. I think I'm pretty much caught up. I really appreciate this. The multiplying, you hit the divide. So I um I select the whole thing, triple
Mm-hmm.
click.
Mm-hmm. You can go
Uh,
ahead and share your screen if you want.
let's see, how do I do that?
Right in the bottom middle, there's a green rectangle that says
Oh yeah,
share.
okay. Share desktop.
And remember, y'all, if
Uh,
you're interested in the pro version, you can email me and we can work on getting you set up for, I think it's $55. So
see if this will do it. Okay, can you see that?
yep.
Okay. So it's triple clicked. Then I
Mm-hmm.
hit the E for the multiplication. Do I have to click it in the middle then?
You don't, and actually for moving, you don't have to, yep, Shelby's saying it right now. You don't actually have to triple click. So that might
Oh,
be easier. Yep, so click out of it and then just single click. Yeah, see how the lines are solid instead of dash? There you go.
yes.
And so you can actually click anywhere. You don't even, when you're moving, as long as this is highlighted, like you can try clicking the corner of the table. So the actual
Oh, the
rectangle
table.
table. Yep. You can click
Okay.
there, click and release. Yep. And then if you hit option, it'll make a copy. Oh, you had already released. So
Oh,
probably undo. Yeah.
okay.
So you can click and release. There you go. Yeah. So sometimes you want like the corner of the table to be your reference point or something like that. So that can be super helpful. Um,
So so I hit option. That
mhm.
makes it copy.
Yep. Or if you're like, oh, I actually didn't want
Oh,
to copy, just hit option again,
I see.
and then it's just moving it. Yep.
And then
And
wherever
then,
I click, it will be, right?
yeah, try before you do that, try or well, you can make a copy of that one. Um, when you've started moving it, just click one of the arrows, the right or up or left.
Shoot. Okay, so hold on a second. Click it.
hmm
Yeah.
Yep.
So can I click here?
Sure.
Okay. And then
Yep. So yeah, if I think you've got the right arrow hit now, maybe.
okay.
Oh, there you go. So see how much more bold that red dash
Yes.
line got? So even if you move way over to one, forward or backwards, it's going to stay locked, only moving
I see.
perfectly to the right there. Or you can try the left arrow. I think that'll lock it to the green. Yep. And
Okay.
then the up arrow will lock it up and down.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I do like a like if I'm doing basically like girders or something like that and want to make a whole row of them.
Sure. So, yeah, maybe move the one you have to where it's pretty close to the first one.
Yeah.
There you go. And just click and release. And then you'll do Shift and the 8 key to do the asterisk. And then try 5 and then enter.
Okay.
Yep. So that's if you know how far apart you want them. The other thing you could do is move that copy pie like to the edge of the table. So if you want to undo a couple times.
Let's see.
And then go ahead and hit the option. So it's, yep. And then if you zoom out, there you go. All right. Sure. Go right there. And then you're going to type divide.
Like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oops. Anyway, okay, I got it now. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Of
Really
course.
appreciate this.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to do a screen share and talk through of everything or ask any other questions? All right. I guess not. Guess you learned everything you hope to learn. Um, yeah, with specific things you're trying to do with SketchUp, I always will just Google search SketchUp, how to make a custom paint color, or whatever it is. There's tons of information out there. Oh, one thing I meant to get into was the 3D warehouse. So in that video, there was like an SUV next to one of the houses. The 3D warehouse has, I don't know, like something like 20,000 models of standard, or not necessarily standard, but all kinds of things really accurately drawn up. So you can get bathtubs, you can get faucets. Um, it's there's so many things that you can get in there and import directly into a model and have, a really accurate representation of what you're imagining. There's a lot of companies who are realizing how much SketchUp is used and prioritizing, getting accurate modeling of their products into it. So that's pretty neat. Um, I will try to get this recording shared out to all of y'all that through I think we'll do it through Eventbrite. And also, if you got particular questions or want to sign up for the nonprofit version, if you can't do the teacher and student discount, you can email me and I'll work on getting you set up. But otherwise, I think we're gonna call it a night, and I appreciate you joining. Thanks, Joseph.